The old man's hands are trembling as he buries something in the sand. And he's been doing this every single day for 37 years. That's the first thing you need to understand. Not once has he missed a day. Not through sandstorms that could strip flesh from bone. Not through the blistering heat that turns the desert into a furnace. Not through the bone-chilling nights when the temperature drops so fast your breath freezes in your lungs. Every single morning, before the sun clears the horizon and paints the sky that deep blood-red color, he's out there with his shovel and a small wooden box, digging in the exact same spot. The desert stretches out in every direction like an ocean of copper and gold. Endless dunes rolling toward a horizon that shimmers with heat, mirages, and broken dreams. His shack sits at the center of this wasteland, a skeletal structure of weathered wood and rusted metal that looks like it could collapse with the next strong wind. But it doesn't. It never does. Just like him. Just like the ritual. The locals in the nearest town, 43 miles east, they call him the Ghost. Not because he's dead, but because he might as well be. Nobody's seen him up close in decades. Nobody knows his real name anymore. He's just this legend. This whispered story parents tell their kids about. What happens when you run from your past instead of facing it? The sensory anchor hits you the moment you step into this landscape. The silence is so thick you can taste it, heavy and metallic like old blood. The wind moves across the dunes with this low, mournful sound that could be music or could be screaming, depending on how the light hits. And underneath it all, there's this feeling, this bone-deep knowing that something terrible happened here once. Something so catastrophic that the land itself remembers. The old man finishes his digging. He places the box in the hole, covers it with sand, and stands there for exactly 7 minutes, his lips moving in a prayer or a confession or maybe just a conversation with ghosts. Then he turns back toward his shack, his shadow stretching long across the desert floor, and that's when he sees her, a figure on the horizon, walking toward him. The first visitor he's had in 37 years. Her name is Elena, and she's got her mother's eyes. Not that the old man knows this yet. Not that he's close enough to see the specific shade of green that haunts his dreams. The particular way the light catches in her irises and turns, them almost translucent. But he will. She's been walking for 3 hours, her boots leaving deep impressions in the sand that the wind erases, almost as fast as she makes them. She's carrying a backpack that looks military surplus, worn canvas with frayed straps. And there's something in the way she moves that tells you. She's done hard things before. This isn't her first desert. This isn't her first impossible journey. Elena stops about 50 yards from his shack, close enough to be heard, but far enough to run if she needs to. Smart. The desert has a way of teaching you caution, of showing you that the things that look harmless are usually the ones that'll kill you fastest. "I'm looking for someone," she calls out, her voice carrying across the space between them with surprising clarity. The desert does that, amplifies sound in strange ways, makes whispers feel like shouts and shouts feel like thunder. The old man doesn't respond. He's frozen on his porch, if you can call 3 warped planks of wood a porch, his hand gripping the railing so hard his knuckles have gone white. He's staring at her like she's a ghost, like she's something his guilty conscience finally conjured into being after all these years. Elena takes a step closer. "I'm looking for Marcus Webb. I was told he lives out here. I was told he's the only one who knows the truth about what happened in 1988. The year hits the old man like a physical blow. You can see it in the way his shoulders hunch, the way his breath catches, the way his entire body seems to fold in on itself like he's trying to disappear. 1988. The year everything burned. The year he became the Ghost. "There's no Marcus Webb here," he says finally, and his voice is like gravel scraping against rust, rough and broken and barely used. "Just me, and I don't know anything about anything. You should go back." But Elena doesn't move. She's reaching into her backpack now, pulling something out. A photograph. Old, faded, the edges curled and yellowed with age. She holds it up so he can see it even from this distance. "This is you," she says. 37 years ago. Standing next to my mother, and I need to know why she spent her entire life trying to forget you." The photograph is a masterpiece of injustice frozen in time. Marcus can see it clearly even from where he stands, because he's seen it 1,000 times in his mind, played it back, frame by frame in the dark hours. When sleep won't come and the ghosts get loud, it's him, younger, stronger, with eyes that still held hope instead of ash. And next to him is a woman with green eyes and dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, smiling like she believed in futures and forevers. Her name was Catherine. Is Catherine. Was. The grammar of grief is always complicated. Your mother, Marcus says, and the words come out strangled, like they're fighting their way past barbed wire in his throat. Catherine sent you here? Elena's face does something complicated. Pain and anger and something else, something that looks like the exhaustion that comes from carrying too many secrets for too long. My mother died 6 months ago, cancer. But before she died, she kept saying your name, over and over. Marcus Webb, the ghost in the sand. She made me promise I'd find you. Made me promise I'd ask you one question. The desert wind picks up, swirling sand around them in patterns that look almost deliberate, almost intelligent. Marcus feels his heart hammering against his ribs like it's trying to escape, like it knows what's coming and wants no part of it. What question? He asks, even though he already knows. Even though there's only one question that matters, only one truth that Catherine would send her daughter across a desert to uncover. Elena takes another step closer. She's only 30 yards away now, close enough that Marcus can see the details. The way she carries herself, the shape of her jaw, the specific data points that add up to an impossible equation. She's 26, maybe 27. The math is there, stark and undeniable. She wanted me to ask you about the fire, about what really happened at the Carson Ranch on August 14th, 1988, about why you ran, about why you let everyone believe you were dead. The mystery loop tightens around Marcus's throat like a noose. The Carson Ranch. He hasn't heard that name spoken aloud in 37 years. The official story was simple, neat. The kind of tragedy that makes sense in retrospect. Electrical fire. Dry summer. The whole place went up like kindling. 5 people died. Catherine barely made it out. And Marcus Webb's body was never found, presumed burned beyond recognition. But that's not what happened. Not even close. Marcus looks at Elena, really looks at her, and the forbidden emotions start creeping in. She's so much like Catherine, it's physically painful. But she's also herself, her own person. And there's something in her eyes that reminds him of himself before everything burned. Marcus turns away from Elena and walks into his shack. For a moment, she thinks he's running again, disappearing into the skeletal structure and refusing to come back out. But then she hears his voice, rough and broken, calling from inside. You want the truth? Then come in. But understand something first. Once you know, you can't unknow it. Once I tell you what really happened, your entire understanding of who your mother was, who you are, changes forever. Elena doesn't hesitate. She crosses the remaining distance and steps into the shack. And what she finds inside stops her cold. The place is a shrine. Photographs covering every wall. All of them featuring the same woman. Catherine. Young Catherine. Smiling Catherine. Catherine pregnant. Her hand resting on her swollen belly. Her face radiant with joy. Elena's hand flies to her mouth. The photograph of pregnant Catherine is dated July 1988, 1 month before the fire. Marcus is sitting on a chair that looks like it's held together by sheer willpower and stubbornness, his head in his hands. Your mother didn't just know me, he says quietly. We were engaged, planning to get married in September. And that baby she was carrying. He looks up at Elena, and his eyes are shining with tears that he's too broken to actually shed. That was supposed to be our daughter. The identity flip hits Elena like a freight train. She's doing the math in her head, counting back the months, the years, and it doesn't add up. She was born in March 1989, 7 months after the fire. If Catherine was already pregnant in July 1988, then the timeline works. The numbers align. You're saying you're my father, Elena whispers, and the words feel like glass in her mouth. Marcus shakes his head violently. No, that's the thing. That's the truth your mother never wanted you to know. I'm not your father. I wish I was. God knows I wish I was, but I'm not. Elena's brain is spinning, trying to process, trying to understand. Then who? James Carson, Marcus says, and the name is a curse in his mouth. The ranch owner's son. Your mother worked there as a ranch hand, and he was obsessed with her. Wouldn't take no for an answer. When Catherine and I got engaged, James lost it. Started making threats. Started saying that Catherine was his, that I was stealing what belonged to him. The pieces start falling into place with horrifying clarity. Elena can see where this is going, can feel the shape of the tragedy before Marcus even says it. The night of the fire, Marcus continues, his voice barely above a whisper. James came to the ranch drunk. He had a gun. He was screaming about how if he couldn't have Catherine, nobody could. I tried to stop him. We fought. The gun went off. The basement of shadows exists in memory, in the scorched remnants of a life that burned away in smoke and screaming. Marcus stands up, his movements slow and deliberate, and walks to a locked trunk in the corner of his shack. He opens it with a key he wears on a chain around his neck, and pulls out a bundle of papers, police reports, newspaper clippings, medical records, all meticulously preserved, all documenting a version of events that never made it into the official story. The gun went off, Marcus repeats, his voice hollow. James died instantly. But the noise, the struggle, it knocked over an oil lamp. The hay in the barn caught fire, and within minutes the whole ranch was ablaze. Catherine was upstairs in the main house, asleep. I ran in to get her, pulled her out just as the roof collapsed. 5 ranch hands died in that fire. 5 people who were just trying to make a living, who had nothing to do with James Carson's obsession or my fight with him. He hands Elena a medical report, and she reads it with shaking hands. Catherine suffered severe smoke inhalation, 3rd-degree burns on her back and arms, and significant trauma to her abdomen. The report notes concern for her pregnancy, recommends immediate hospitalization and monitoring. The doctors weren't sure if the baby would survive, Marcus says. Catherine was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and during that time, the investigators were trying to piece together what happened. They found James's body. They found evidence of the fight, and they needed someone to blame. Elena's throat is tight. You. Me, Marcus confirms. James Carson Sr., the ranch owner, he was powerful, connected, rich, and his son was dead. He needed someone to pay for it. The official story became that I started the fire deliberately, that I murdered his son in a jealous rage, that I died in the blaze trying to escape. Catherine was the only witness who knew the truth, and James Sr. made her an offer. The horrifying reality crystallizes. Elena can see it playing out, can understand exactly what leverage a powerful, grieving father would use against a pregnant woman who'd just lost everything. He told her if she testified that I was dangerous, that I'd attacked his son unprovoked, he'd make sure she and her baby were taken care of. Medical bills paid, a house, money for raising a child. But if she told the truth, if she said his son attacked us first, he'd make sure she lost everything, including custody of her baby when it was born. Marcus's hands are shaking as he pulls out the final document. A letter, in Catherine's handwriting, addressed to him, but never sent. Elena reads it through tears, her mother's words reaching across decades to explain the impossible choice she made. Catherine chose her baby, chose Elena. She testified that Marcus was violent, unstable. The investigation closed. Marcus Webb was declared dead, and Catherine took James Carson Sr.'s money and disappeared into a new life. I couldn't stay, Marcus says. Couldn't let her sacrifice be for nothing, so I ran. Came out here to this wasteland and became the ghost. The sun is setting now, painting the desert in shades of crimson, and gold that look like the whole world is on fire again. Elena and Marcus are sitting outside the shack, side by side, not touching but somehow connected by the weight of everything they've just shared. The silence between them isn't empty. It's full of grief and understanding and something neither of them expected. Elena breaks the silence first. She loved you, even after everything. Even after she testified against you and took the money and built a life. She loved you until the day she died. Marcus nods slowly. I know, and I loved her, still do. That's why I bury that box every morning. It's got a letter in it. A letter telling her I forgive her, that I understand. That I'd make the same choice if it meant protecting you. I write a new one every day, bury it, and pretend somehow she can read them. Elena reaches into her backpack and pulls out another envelope. She wrote you letters, too. Hundreds of them. Never sent them. I found them after she died. That's how I knew to come looking for you. She hands the stack to Marcus, and his hands tremble as he takes them. Decades of unspoken words, preserved in ink and paper. The forbidden emotions that have been building between them finally have a name. It's not romantic exactly. It's something deeper, more complicated. It's the love of shared grief. It's the recognition of sacrifice. It's the understanding that both of them are survivors of the same tragedy, shaped by the same fire. "What are you going to do now?" Marcus asks. Elena looks out at the desert, at the endless expanse of sand and sky and silence. "I don't know. I came here looking for answers and I got them. But now I don't know what to do with them. Do I tell people the truth? Do I clear your name? Do I expose what James Carson Sr. did?" Marcus considers this. "Your mother made her choice to protect you. Exposing the truth now won't bring back those 5 people who died. Won't undo the 37 years I've spent out here. But it might destroy the life she built for you. The reputation she created, the story she told." Elena nods slowly, understanding the weight of the decision in front of her. The untouchable legacy of her mother isn't perfection. It's sacrifice. It's making impossible choices in impossible circumstances and living with the consequences. "She was stronger than I ever knew," Elena says quietly. "Stronger than most people could ever be," Marcus agrees. They sit there as darkness falls. 2 people connected by tragedy and love, and the complicated mathematics of survival. Marcus doesn't ask Elena to stay. Elena doesn't ask Marcus to leave the desert. Some things don't need to be said. But when Elena finally stands to leave, she turns back to Marcus. "I'm going to come back. Not to live here, not to drag you back to civilization, just to visit, to make sure you're okay, to maybe help you write those letters." Marcus's eyes shine with something that might be tears, or might be hope, or might be both. "I'd like that. Here's the moral lesson, pure American grit style. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just helps you understand the cage you're in." Marcus and Catherine didn't get their happy ending. They got something harder and maybe more real. They got survival and sacrifice and love that persisted even when everything else burned to ash. So here's your call to action. If you're carrying secrets that are eating you alive, understand that the truth has consequences, but so does silence. Choose wisely. Choose with your eyes open. And if you've got someone in your life who made impossible sacrifices for you, someone who gave up their own happiness so you could have yours, maybe it's time to write them a letter. Drop a comment if this story hit you. Share it if you know someone carrying the weight of the past. And remember, the most devastating truths are the ones we bury in the sand and pray stay hidden. But they never do. They always find a way back to the surface.